I thought you weren't supposed to play with me. For a couple days, the Sharif avoided me. Not on purpose, I don't think. The larger human with him, known as Nana, would always pull him away. Not a huge problem, I suppose. Playing is fun, but I have other things that I need to do as well. Stuff like learning human facial expressions, and asking August questions. Well, I think maybe as long as I don't get dirty it should be okay. The Sharif answers. My mom doesn't get done with work until the sandflower gets here. What's the sandflower? Oh, it's that island up there, the Sharif explains, pointing. Have you not learned all the days yet? That's okay. There's hundreds of them. It's a lot. The sandflower is tonight. I look up, seeing a tan sky ground surrounded by swirling particles that makes it seem as though the island is constantly disintegrating. Interesting. Every single sky ground has a name? So you are just going to hide from this, Mom? Well, not hide, but... Anyway, let's play a game. How about hunters versus monsters? I tense. Hunters? Monsters? What does he know? The Sharif just keeps talking, though, seemingly oblivious to my discomfort. One of us pretends to be the evil monster, and the other is the hunter. We get to make up our cool talents or monster powers and then we pretend to fight. But don't actually fight, it's not good to hurt people. We just pretend to, like. Boom. Pew pew bam kaplowy. The small human jumps around, making hand motions as if he was casting a spell, though no actual magic comes out and I feel no telltale pinprick of danger. Pretend, huh? As in, plotting for a potential future event? Learning to combat opponents of arbitrary ability? That does sound like a useful game, but... if the fight is pretend, how do we know who wins? The Sharif stops hopping around for a moment to look at me with what I'm pretty sure is a confused expression. Well, the hunter always wins. They're the hero. They kill the monster and they save everybody. I take a step backwards, second set of hands clenching the inside of my cloak hard enough to hurt. I don't think I like this game, I breathe. Why not? The Sharif asks. I don't want to play a game where I always die, I answer. Once again, the Sharif gives me that funny, confused look. You don't have to play the monster every time, silly. You can be the hero, too. Do you want to start as the hunter? I blink. Me? Come on, Lark. What is your cool hunter talent? I frown, but after a moment's thought I pantomime the motion that Deathslayer used to draw her bow. I turned my body sideways, imagining pulling the string back, creating the force and tension necessary to carve a hole through any enemy. The weapon I fear and respect more than any other. I'll use a bow, I answer. It's super awesome and it never misses and it can smash trees. Oh yeah, well, I'm a huge monster bigger and stronger than even the tallest trees. Your bow can't hurt me. Yes it can. And so we begin. We fight without actually fighting. It is a complicated system of imagined backdrops and exaggerated movements, where the rules change constantly. Yet the animated descriptions of the Sharif and the fascinating puzzle of fighting a creature that can apparently make up new abilities whenever it wants captivates my attention. I like the Sharif. I like that the Sharif sought me out when he thought he was able, despite possibly risking trouble for doing so. That means he actually likes me, right? He's not just pretending. I look forward to ensuring he won't have to worry about getting in trouble anymore. The sandflower is upon us before I know it, time passing by so fast I could have assumed I've been in torpor. The Nana soon collects the Sharif, or, I guess it's just Sharif, technically, and it won't be long before darkness falls. I remove myself from the stone structure part of the human colony, returning to where I know August waits. He is where he is every day, getting ready to pack up his stall and return home. I don't say any words, simply moving in to assist. He smiles down at me, and together we finish converting the cart. I ride on top of it as August pulls the entire contraption out towards the forest. I suspect I am a lot stronger than August is, but I am not tall enough to reach the handles that would allow me to help. I have considered using webbing to help pull, but I am still afraid. Humans don't have webbing. Thank you, Lark. How was your day? August asks kindly. It was fun, I answer. Sharif came back. We played hunters and monsters. Did he? That's great news. I'm glad you and your friend can keep being together. Yes. I like Sharif. He never tries to grab my cloak or take off my mask. The other kids always bother me about it, especially when we play tag. Oh no, I'm sorry, Lark. They shouldn't be touching you like that. It's fine. They don't actually touch me. They're way too slow. August chuckles. So I've heard. You must have quite the powerful talent. You're very, very young to have one so developed. I'm sure you'll grow up strong. I frown under my mask. I have mostly picked up from context what a talent is. Fancy, special powers that make some humans more dangerous than others. It's little wonder that fighting humans is always so different. I stay silent at the comment, not at all wanting to get into a conversation about what I can do. I doubt any of my abilities or talents at all. August, as usual, doesn't press the point. He lets me be quiet when I don't want to talk. The degree to which he is comfortable not knowing concerns me. I, after all, am dangerous. If he displays such a lack of curiosity to all dangerous things, he will be killed. Stupid human. Though I suppose if he was more curious, I wouldn't be staying with him in the first place. Now I'm conflicted. Are you hungry, Lark? August asks after we finish putting his stall cart away. He asks this every day, which is frustrating because I cannot answer. I am hungry, obviously. But when I say so, he gets human food for me, which I cannot eat. Then he starts asking why I'm not eating and so on and so forth, all of which delves into topics I have no interest in speaking of to a human. Today, however, he presses the issue. Lark, you need to eat something. Please. It's not good for you not to eat. I suppose he's probably right. I've been getting more and more sluggish as I go longer without food. I'm confident I have the information I need to complete my hunt. There's little sense delaying it past nightfall. Okay. I will eat something. I turn and start walking away from August's home. Lark, wait. I have plenty of food. You don't have to go. I can go somewhere else while you eat if you're worried about taking off your mask. I will get my own food. I promise I will eat tonight. I turn and start to leave, but August approaches me. He seems afraid. But if he's afraid, why is he approaching me? Oh. He's not afraid I'll hurt him, he's afraid of something else. Lark. It's safe here. You don't need to go get food somewhere else. Please stay and eat something. I stare up at the human from behind my mask. Am I allowed to leave whenever I want, or aren't I? The old man sags a little, nodding his head slowly. You are allowed to leave. Of course you are. I turn and do just that without another word. Uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. I don't like these questions that I feel I should not answer. They make me unhappy. They make August unhappy. I wish I could just tell him everything. I wish I could show him what I look like and cry to him about Claretta. But even though I know nothing he can do can injure me, I am afraid of being hurt. Night quickly falls as I make my way back to the town of New Talsi. Over the past few days, I have learned that humans greatly struggle to see things at night. Why this is, I don't know, but I am thankful my diet has not cursed me with a similar weakness like it did when it replaced my warm, safe chitin with this terrible, floppy skin. I am not overly bothered by the change in lighting, but I suppose even if I was I have the route to my destination memorized. The being known by Sharifa's mom sleeps, like most humans, in one of the stone structures that litter New Talsi. Unlike most humans, this particular stone structure dwarfs the others of its kind, like half a dozen different human dens smushed together and stacked. Walls surround the structure from quite a ways away, a significant portion of empty space between it and any other human den. As interesting as this is, however, it impacts my objective today very little. The mom sleeps near the top of the structure and near the back, a hole in the stone leading directly into the room from the outside. It doesn't seem like a very safe place to me if predators can just walk right up the outside walls and get into the sleeping areas, but as a predator myself I'm not going to complain. Hidden in a nook by the outer walls, I stash my disguise. I spend a short moment stretching, reveling in the freedom of motion I now have with my lower arms. Then, it's time for the hunt. Getting in close is easy. Climbing is easy. I could shoot a web all the way to the top of the structure and hoist myself up that way, but instead I opt to use tiny spurts of web from each finger like an adhesive, scaling up the side of the wall on my fingertips. As expected, the mom is sleeping within the room. To my surprise, however, another human is sleeping next to her. How fortuitous. More food. I slip in through the window, creeping silently closer to my prey. Humans are like catzels in that if you capture one they'll start to make all sorts of noises. I should probably bind them by the head first, force their jaw closed, and finish trapping them afterwards. There are way too many humans nearby for me to want to risk them calling for more. I weave some simple gags, leaping onto the pair of humans and binding them down by the face before they know what's going on. This wakes both humans, but I have a few brief seconds to finish my work before they're aware enough to retaliate. Tearing the covers off the bed, I repeat the process with their legs. One of them, who I'm fairly certain is a man, is lucid enough to attempt to kick me, but he's far too slow to make a difference. The screams start, but not in time to make a difference. They should be muffled enough, and with just a few more threads, the humans are bound tight. I crawl over the bed and my prey, holding them steady as I layer more and more webs to ensure I am not bothered during my upcoming feast. They squirm and struggle, horrified, muffled noises accompanying the creaks and shakes of the bed as I finish my preparations. Once ready, however, I make the mistake of looking into their eyes. I have been working a lot over these past few days to learn human expressions and tell the difference between human faces. The latter is still more than a little difficult for me, but I'm figuring out other ways to tell humans apart which help me compensate for that. Smell is a big one. Everyone smells differently when I pay attention to the subtle distinctions, and I almost always know if I'm meeting someone I've seen before or not as long as I get close enough to them to tell their smell apart from the countless other humans around. Expressions, however, don't require me to understand the difference between human faces. I only have to compare memories of other expressions which seem to be the same among almost everyone. A smile is a smile. A scowl is a scowl. And the wide-eyed look of mortal terror on these two humans is especially recognizable to me. I just didn't care before. The eyes of the mom flick randomly around, pupils dilated in terror as she struggles almost randomly to find an escape. I think it's a she, anyway. I'm kind of starting to figure out the difference, and she has many more of the female traits than her sleeping partner seems to. He struggles with much more purpose, eyes locked furiously in my direction, looking away only to glance for anything nearby he could use to his advantage. With each and every attempt, each failed idea for potential escape, I watch the hope and anger drain from his face, to be replaced with increasing horror and despair. I remember something similar to it on the face of the Fulvia. Or just Fulvia, I suppose. She went through the same thing, albeit much more slowly. I remember her expressions clearly. They started with fury and wrath, devolving more and more into fear before finally resting on almost nothing at all. Expressionless despair, lacking the energy to even hate me anymore. I shake my head. These people aren't anyone I care about. They hold back a friend of mine. I'm helping him. This is nothing like Claretta and Fulvia. These two will be dead before morning. So to that end, I start to eat. The woman is first, starting with her foot and working quickly up. I've no time to savor my bites, as without Claretta my meal will quickly die and become worthless. The faster I eat, the better. The man makes this difficult. Emboldened by some newfound strength, his screams and struggles double in intensity, bloodshot eyes locked on me as I sever bite after bite of meat, juice, and bone from the woman next to him. Not that I have any more compunctions about his distress, as I'm far too busy enjoying glorious food after too long without. I greedily chew my way up one leg, drinking down blood before moving on to the next in a gleeful frenzy. There's a thump on the door. Human voices from the other side. Annoying. I look up long enough only to make a quick layer of webs in front of the door, then return to my bloody feast. Right about when I feel my first victim die, the door is busted open and two men holding swords and wearing armor charge into the room, only to immediately get tangled in my trap. Good. More food. Unfortunately, they shout before I can bind their mouths, but after closing the door and layering some webs to hold it shut, I'm confident I at least have enough time to eat what I have available. The two new humans smell even better than the ones in the bed. Since the mom has bled out already, I move to them next. The armor is chewy and tasteless, but it doesn't serve as much of an obstacle to my teeth. These humans struggle more, being much stronger and also tied up standing instead of bound to a bed, but they're dead in less than half a minute as well. Humans can be frustratingly frail, and it's so very difficult to get a full, satisfying meal out of them as a result. I'm used to it, of course, every meal of my life having always left me wanting more. I hear more pounding outside the door to the room, but I ignore it and move on to what will probably be my final prey of the night. I devour the man on the bed. It is only after my feast is done and my desire to retreat to safety wins out against the haze of hunger that I think about how the man's face held perhaps the most striking representation of unbridled hatred that I have ever seen. Tears are in his eyes as well. How many different emotions can the damn eye water signify? Another slam hits the door, and the wood splinters. I suppose I'll take that as my cue to leave. I leap out the window, scrambling across the yard and over the outer wall before any more humans see me. Unfortunately, I'm a bit covered in blood, so I'll have to sprint to a nearby well and wash myself off before recovering my things. That doesn't take very long, however, and soon enough I get my disguise back on, returning to August's house. The old man is asleep, as he tends to be every night. I feel a lot more inclined to rest than usual as well. Something about eating a significant percentage of 4 different humans after such a long fast has me feeling quite relaxed. I'm still hungry, since I'm always hungry, but I no longer feel debilitated. The hunger is now merely an urge, not an encroaching threat. The humans are no doubt looking for me. I had to avoid no small number of them rushing about the town near the home of my prey. Yet here, in August's home, I can rest. Here I am safe, and for the first time since arriving I truly feel that. I make my way into the room in which August sleeps, curl up on the floor, and descend into torpor for the rest of the night. Morning arrives too soon. August nearly steps on me when he gets out of bed, no doubt surprised to find me since I normally sleep in the other room. I have no interest in moving yet, however, still enjoying my rest, so I let him think I'm asleep and start his day without me. He goes through the same routine he does every morning, washing himself and making food and leaving out a plate of things that he never says are for me but always are. Not that I can eat the food I'm offered here. Then he spends the morning carving or whittling or both for a while until the sky is completely clear from the island overhead. It is only then that I rise, ready to follow him now that I know he will be setting up his shop. "Good morning, Lark," August says. I nod at him. "Good morning, August. Did you sleep well?" "I did, yes," he answers, smiling. August is the one who taught me that I'm supposed to answer good morning with good morning, so perhaps he's pleased that I've started doing so. "Yourself?" "No, I did not. But I found food. I feel much better now." "I'm happy to hear that," he says. I nod again, smiling under my mask. I made him happy, and that makes me happy. It really does work. The two of us prepare his cart and walk it to his usual spot. I'm looking forward to spending the entire day with Sharif without having to worry about that mom person, but it might be fun to spend some of the morning with August. I suppose we'll see. As we reach the smattering of carts and stalls that August works by today, a human I recognize but don't know the name of runs up to us. I've seen them buy things from August before, and sometimes just drop by to chat with him. "August, did you hear what happened last night?" "No? What happened?" August asks, looking up from his work. The other human seems worried, and that immediately makes August worried too. "The Lord and Lady Taftan are dead." August drops what he's doing, face twisting to shock. "What? Truly? How? What of their son?" "Third Lord Sharif is unharmed, thankfully. But nobody knows what happened. Some say it was a monster attack, others say assassination. I hear they died in their bedchambers. Anyway, they're holding a public funeral at the church. I just thought you should know, in case you wanted to pay your respects." August nods. Yes, of course. Give me a few moments to lock everything up, then I'll join you." "Lark, would you like to come?" "Will Sharif be there?" I ask. They mentioned his name just now. "Almost certainly, yes," August confirms. "The poor thing. Since you two are friends, I'm sure it will be good for him to see you." I'm not entirely sure I understand, but I nod. "I'll come with you, then." August, the unnamed human, and I walk together to a place that most of the other humans on the street also seem to be headed. Soon, I see our destination, a massive building, not as tall as the place I hunted in last night but much, much wider. Columns of stone carved to look like tentacles curling around each other adorn the entryway, and inside is a single room so massive that I bet every human in the marketplace could fit inside at once. Apparently, they seem to be trying. The overwhelming density of humans here makes me a bit uncomfortable, but not one of them is looking at me. They all look solemn, many of them crying but most simply staring with blank expressions. We're all gathered in a huge, clumpy line, slowly moving forward as people in front of us leave and people behind us enter. We all seem to be heading towards the front of the room, in which a small candle burns in front of a portrait of two humans, whom I recognize as the two humans in the bed I ate last night. Oh. This is all my fault. It's probably not that bad, right? Eventually, we make it to the front of the room. Rows and rows of benches line either side of the clump of people moving forward, and sitting in the final row of benches is Sharif and his Nana. Tears pour down Sharif's face, soaking his collar and chin as surely as if he fell in a puddle. He looks sad. But why is he sad? It's not like he'll be yelled at for falling in puddles anymore. Or anything else. I walk up to him, ready to remind him of this fact, but something about his endless tears makes my steps slow and my heartbeat heavy. Sharif? I say hesitantly, approaching the bench. Hi. It's me. Lark. He looks up at me, clearly seeing me, but his tears prevent him from making a response. I really hate tears. They're still difficult for me to understand. Everybody else seems sad, but maybe he's crying tears of joy? Are you happy, Sharif? I ask. You don't have to worry about your mom taking you home ever again. She'll never yell at you. We can play, and play, and play. As much as we want. His breath catches, halting the tears for a moment as he stares in abject horror, only to have them start anew with far greater intensity. His Nana stares at me in a mix of anger and something else. Something not quite fear. In fact, many people nearby are now staring at me, and none of them look pleased. Lark. August snaps, even his voice carrying the disturbed tone. I freeze, filled with the terror I don't understand. He kneels down next to me, glaring in a way I almost wish was aggressive, but it clearly isn't, and that's somehow worse. Apologize to Sharif, he demands. Sorry, I say automatically, not even thinking to chastise the human for giving me an order. That's not an appropriate thing to say at a funeral, August tells me. Do you understand? I swallow. No, I squeak softly. His face softens, but only a little. Apologizing again on my behalf, he leads me back out of the large building before speaking again. Do you know what we were all doing in there? He asks. You said it was a funeral, I answer slowly. What's a funeral? He sighs, kneeling down again. Sharif's mother and father both died last night, he says. I nod. I knew that already. A funeral is where people gather to grieve those that have passed on back to the Mistwatcher. When people die, they are gone from this world forever. We celebrate their lives, but we also mourn their passing. Death is a sad and solemn event, Lark. You can't treat it like a fortunate occurrence. But it is. I protest, scowling. Sharif has never talked about his mom without complaining about her. Why is he sad that she's gone? August looks at me in a very strange way, one I still can't fully interpret. It's sort of like sadness, but different. Like he's sad because of something I say or do because he thinks it hurts me, or because he thinks I still don't understand something. I'm sure that Sharif loved his family, August insists. Maybe he didn't always agree with his mother, and maybe he wasn't always happy with her, but you can love someone and still be frustrated with them. His mother loved him very much, and he loved her. Now she is gone forever, and no matter how many playdates she won't interrupt now, that is a person he can never get back again. He will always, for the rest of his life, have an aching pain where his mother should be. And while that grief might heal and lessen with time, it never goes away. The people in our lives are special, and all people are special in someone's life. That is why every death is a tragedy. That is why every death must be treated with respect and reverence. He stands up, and holds his hand out to me. Hesitantly, I take it, and together we return to his shop. More and more, I think of Claretta. I still don't think I understand, but as with all things, I will remember his words with perfect clarity from now until perhaps forever. The next day, I learn that Sharif has left town to live with family in another city. I'll probably never see him again. Rowan? I call out. Hey, Rowan. I scowl, looking over the battlefield where I recently fought Capita. 6 corpses lie in the road, a shallow crater behind them where Capita's implosion spell annihilated part of the ground. There's no sign of Rowan around, but that means I don't feel his soul hanging around either, so he's probably not dead. He didn't run after me to help with Capita anymore, so there's only one other place he'd have gone, the shack. Unless he's an idiot, but when it doesn't come to gambling the guy is super smart. I assume that's where I'll end up finding him. In the meantime, I suppose it would be a waste not to see what these bodies have on them. I kneel down, hands quickly rifling through the pockets of the dead. First come, first serve. That's just how it is around here. Excuse me, miss, but you wouldn't happen to know what occurred here, would you? After just the first few words I'm jumping to my feet, drawing my spear and swearing up a storm as my heart beats a mile a minute. What the fuck? Where is that voice coming from? There's no one here but me. Turning around, however, my eyes disagree with my soul sense. A figure in pristine white scale-forged armor with red trim stands a respectful distance behind me. The armor of a High Templar. They don't seem to have a soul at all. All 3 of my eyes look around wildly, panic filling me. How long have they been here? Why can't I feel them? Am I going to die? If I can't affect their soul, I don't stand a chance. But how do they not have one? I've never... my apologies, miss. I didn't mean to startle you. I am High Templar Braum. I'm here to ask a few questions. Hearing the voice is just weird to me. Everything feels wrong, my mind reeling to find answers to basic questions. Are they a man or a woman? What type of person are they? How are they feeling? It fills me with unreasonable panic, and it shouldn't. I know how to do this shit. It's not like I've always had a soul sense. Old skills churn slowly to the surface of my mind, interpreting for my lesser senses. The voice sounds deep and masculine. His posture is relaxed and non-threatening. This person is not attacking or moving to attack. I don't need a soul sense to guess that, as much as I would really like a read on this person. You are, it's fine, I say, swallowing as much of my discomfort as I can. You startled me. I put away my spear, fairly certain it won't help me very much if he decides to attack anyway. I may as well encourage him to not do so. First Capita, now this guy? What the fuck is going on with my luck today? The High Templar chuckles, though I have no idea if it's in good humor, malice, or straight up insanity. When did I start relying on my soul sense this much? Apologies again. He says. You're far from the first person I've accidentally frightened, much to my chagrin. I tend to appear wherever I'm needed, usually without warning. To that end, I was just getting back to town when I heard an explosion. So again, I feel it is my duty to ask, do you know what happened here? I shrug, trying to channel all my experience running cons with Rowan to keep as straight a face as possible. By the looks of it, I'm going to guess a turf war, I answer. It's a very believable answer for this part of town, and it's technically not even a lie. I see. And what, may I ask, are you doing with the bodies? Checking them for valuables, I shrug again, entirely unashamed. You've got to get what you can to survive around here. Speaking of, it's really weird to see a High Templar in this part of town. Well, most of us have been assigned abroad. With the Hiverock situation, it was deemed necessary to recall us, although it would seem things have gotten much worse than I expected during my absence. I must admit, I find it odd to see someone so well armed and armored resorting to petty thievery of the dead to get by. I blink. I guess that's a good point, I mutter thoughtfully. I suppose I don't need this stuff. Collecting it is just kind of a habit. I should probably let some other urchins have it. Especially if my family is getting moved to a better part of town, with Penelope footing some of the bill. In that sense, I suppose my family has made it. They're pretty much living the dream of every kid here, to be rescued by some rich hero with a heart of gold. Penelope is not normally someone I would call altruistic, but she definitely has her moments. You need to let the guard have it, the High Templar corrects. These people need to be identified and their belongings returned to their families. Families? Oh shit, I hope they don't have families. It would be just my luck to create another vengeful pseudo-orphan right after I finished getting rid of the last one. I should have considered that. Still. You're absolutely bonkers if you think the guard would do anything with the valuables on these bodies other than pocket them, I say bluntly. Just leave it all here. Or better yet, give it to the first street kid you see. It could save their life. I wish I could at least see the man's expression, though his face remains stubbornly behind a helmet. Have we truly fallen so far? He mutters to himself. I shrug once more, for it is an expression that serves me well when hiding my heart-smashing panic. I decide to take that small monologue as my permission to leave, but unfortunately, he calls out to me as I go. What is your name, miss? I grimace. They probably have my face plastered somewhere in the Templar headquarters, so as much as I want to lie it's probably a bad idea. Vita, I answer. I'm a hunter, and I guess a slave of House Erebus, technically. I don't want to add the last part, but it does mean he can't legally stab me through the face on a whim, so it seems prudent to include. Besides, maybe I'll be lucky and he won't recognize me. He implied that he just made it back to town after a long time abroad, after all. Oh, you're that girl, he hums thoughtfully, crushing all of my hopes. You're accused of some quite heinous crimes. I narrow my eyes. Figures. You may direct any allegations against me towards First Lord Erebus. And for the record, I believe I was promised a reward for wiping out the Nora and retrieving Remus and his sword unharmed. I've yet to receive it. Unless you intend to deliver that, may I go? Yes, he says immediately, much to my relief. Between you and me, I find the report rather suspect. But the higher-ups will be going through with the investigation regardless. I regret to inform you you'll most likely have to deal with Inquisitors bothering you in the future. I do apologize. I assure you, the Inquisitors are an honorable sort, with no compunctions against prosecuting a High Templar should someone be framing you like your master claims. We have learned the dangers of letting rot fester in our organization. Not trusting myself to respond to that can of worms, I simply shrug one last time, keeping my face steady as I turn and walk away. High Templars are returning and Inquisitors are apparently coming, whatever those are. They sure don't sound good. If they have some way of actually detecting animancy, I'm kind of fucked. And if I had a secret animancy detecting branch of Templars, I'd probably name them Inquisitors. Just another problem to add to the pile, I suppose. It's interesting that Galdra is apparently not well liked or trusted by one of her fellow High Templars, however. If I'm to get out of this mess, that might be my angle to do it. Only after walking around several corners do I dare to turn my head to check if I'm being followed. Braum isn't there, thankfully. I pick up the pace, sprinting all the way back home. An unfathomable amount of relief washes over me when I feel the souls of Rowan and the children, safe and sound where they should be. Thank goodness. Rowan! I shout, waving as I approach the shack. He peeks his head door, giving a relieved sigh of his own as he sees me approach. Vita! He calls back, scooping me into a hug as I rush into him. Thank the Watcher you're all right. After you vanished, I ran off to look for you, but, well, I couldn't leave the kids alone and I had to trust you would be okay. I'm glad I was right. Yeah, good call, I nod. Capita and I are under a truce, I guess. Hopefully, she'll convince Sky to leave you and Mom alone. If not, well, you and the kids should be out of here by then, right? He nods. According to your friend, that's right. He rubs his thumb across the cut on my face. Speaking of which, you should go see her. I see you've gotten your things back, but you should get yourself healed up too. You took a bit of a beating, there. I sigh, lacking the energy to argue that. I didn't really get that injured, just a few cuts and scrapes, but I definitely bit off more than I can chew again. Not much more, though. Next time, I'll be ready. In some regards, I'm pretty darn lucky that Capita was so willing to forgive me. Maybe there won't be a next time, and I'll be able to trust her to help with our animancy research of her own volition. I don't know if she'll have much time while she's still working for Sky, though, and we need her sooner rather than later. As nice as she is to me, I have zero compunctions about killing the woman that permanently scarred my mother's soul. Capita is insane, and she's a danger to everyone no matter how nice she happens to be to me personally. By the way, Rowan, have you heard of our High Templar Braum? I ask. He raises an eyebrow. Braum the ubiquitous? Yeah, of course. He's a chiromancer, although a drastically more powerful one than I am. They say if you're speaking with him, You're almost always speaking with an illusion. He can see and hear through them somehow, and create them over vast distances. I believe he can even cast spells through them, although that gets more into speculation. He's one of the more esoteric High Templars, and they keep his exact abilities secret for national security reasons. Why do you ask? An illusion. Of course. No wonder the dude didn't have a soul. I saw him on the way here. Apparently, he just got back in town and heard our fight. Thankfully, I guess he didn't see it. Oh, shit. You're not in any trouble, are you, Vita? Rowan asks. I snort. Not any more than before I met him. He was polite, I think. You think? I don't know what to say to that, so I just shrug. I think he was polite, but I'm really not sure. Well, please don't run off and start a fight with him, Rowan sighs. I don't think I'll ever get the smell of burning hair out of my nostrils. Honestly, you shouldn't be starting fights with people in general. Yeah. Sorry. I was afraid she was marching a bunch of goons to take the kids, I shrug. He grimaces. You think, again? Please tell me I didn't just burn a woman alive over a misunderstanding. She's fine anyway, I dismiss, waving him off. She doesn't even seem hurt. We talked it out, nobody even died. Vita, you killed 6 people, Rowan says slowly, giving me a weird look. Okay, nobody except those guys, I admit. That's my bad. But their souls are kind of gross, so they were probably assholes anyway. Vita. The chastisement in Rowan's voice is obvious. Although, maybe it's only obvious since I can feel it in his soul, too. Hey, I gave them a warning, I answer, standing my ground. I warned them, and then they drew weapons on me. So yeah, I killed them. What do you want me to do, stand around and get stabbed? I made the mistake of not following through on ultimatums before, and I'm not gonna make it again. Have you considered simply not making ultimatums? Rowan counters, prodding me in the collarbone. If you're going to insist on following through with threats, then threaten people less. I scowl, but I suppose he's not entirely wrong. It's just been a stressful few days, okay? I mumble. He sighs, nodding slowly. Yeah, it has. We're relying on you, Vita. You never met them, but Angeline is far from the first one we lost. But this time, you're keeping the grief away. Delaying it. Our hope in you. Lynn and I need it to keep going, right now. So stay safe, okay? He hugs me again, resting his chin on my head. Grabbing him back, I squeeze, Tendril-enhanced strength going into the embrace. Everyone is counting on me. I can't let them down again. I should head back to the Hunters Guild, I announce after a long period of silence. I'm supposed to check in every day. One last thing, though. Is there a way to extend magic resistance to my stuff? Rowan shakes his head glumly. Unfortunately, no. I've seen plenty of people have their clothes blasted off like yours were because of exactly that. Well, not exactly like yours, but it happens due to all sorts of magic. The best and usually only way to protect your stuff is to dodge the spell. Only living things can have magic resistance, so. He trails off, thinking for a moment. Actually, for you there's probably a way. If it's putting souls into my stuff, that didn't seem to work. I say. I had that going on in a bunch of my weapons during the fight. Even if my shards grant magic resistance, they're probably way too small and weak to resist any spells that matter. If I have to give a fucking massive soul to each individual object. Huh? Well, that's interesting but not what I was thinking actually, Rowan says, cutting me off. Your friend mentioned that the mana you produce destroys naturally occurring mana on contact, right? And you can push it outside your body safely? My eyes go wide, a grin creeping up my mouth. You think I can just destroy the spells? I ask. That would be amazing. You'd have to overpower the raw mana being used, but hypothetically? The idea has potential. If you put a soul into an object, you might be able to pump your mana into that soul as well, which should let it store some. Maybe? I'm definitely guessing at this point, but it's something worth experimenting with. I give him another quick squeeze. Thanks, Rowan. That could be just what I need. He ruffles my hair. Happy to help. Go knock him dead, kiddo. Figuratively. I groan, stepping away from him and shooting him a playful scowl. When are you and Mom gonna stop with that kiddo stuff? I complain. He shrugs, flashing me a shit-eating grin. When you stop being tiny and adorable, so probably never. Whatever, Grandpa. I taunt, turning and running off towards the guild house. That won't work on me like it does with Lynn. Rowan calls after me. I've always been an old man at heart. We know, Mr. Mutton Chops. I quip back. That one gets a reaction, and I glance backwards with a laugh, seeing him pat the sides of his face. Then, I'm around a corner, heading away from my family and back to work. I feel better now. Something about getting teleported thousands of feet up really gave my mood a hard reset. Earlier, I messed up, sure. There's a lot of problems in just about every direction. But it's okay, I don't have to spend all day every day beating myself up about it, because no matter how bad it is, nothing so far is unfixable. Not even death.